Hey folks, how are you all doing today? I hope you're doing grand. I am out here on a lazy Sunday. Look at these views. Isn't it stunning in the Highlands of Scotland? Sorry, I know you probably can't see my eyes, but if I move my hat, I will be staring straight into the sun. Maybe I'll turn that around. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so one of the questions I had for Challenge Laurie was about signals disappearing when you dug them. Now, it's a really hard one to set up because you never know which signal is going to do it. And you can't really set up the different reasons that this might happen. But I've just had a bit of an incident with something like that, and I thought, well, this is one example of what can happen, and I'll show you guys what exactly has occurred here as an example number one of why a signal might disappear. Okay, so view the mayhem. Okay, so there's the Simplex. There's dug soil here, dug soil here, dug soil here, here, and that's the hole where the signal was. Now, I got a really good strong signal on this, 22. I thought, okay, I'm going to dig that, and I started digging. And the first clod I took out, still solid signal. Second clod I took out, still solid signal in the hole. Third clod I took out, signal's gone. Okay, right, so I put my clods to the left, so I got out here with the Simplex and I tried the clods and there's nothing. Okay, so we pat the clods flat with our boot. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, there's still nothing. Back to the hole. Still nothing. Check. We spread the dirt out a bit more around that way. Still nothing. Okay, where's this thing gone? Check the hole. Nope. Now, I wasn't yet resorting to the pinpointer. I was still using the machine because I figured if the Simplex can't find it, the pinpointer's not really going to find it. So I decided to put the Simplex down and take a bigger chunk out of the hole, which I did, and dumped to that side. And I spread that out, and no signal. So I spread it out a bit further this way, and I flattened it right out, and I went back over all of the earth, and lo and behold, over here, sort of about there, I started picking up the signal again. Aha, okay. So I did get the pinpointer out at this point, and I found it, and what it was this. Okay, this thing. Tiny little bit of, I don't know, it might be a bead. I'm having a look at it now. It looks like it might have a hole in both sides. I'm not sure. I'll clean it up and I'll put a picture of it. But it's a tiny little thing. And obviously what happened was when I dug it the first time, it was still there. The second time it was still there. The third time, I must have pressed it into the side and in such a way that earth fell down over it that the Simplex couldn't pick it up anymore. When I pulled the earth out and plunked it over here on this side, it still couldn't quite pick it up because it's too small and it was sort of buried. It was when I sort of flattened it right out and spread it out that suddenly it could see it again. And this is in the spoil. This is in this loose stuff here, not, where's the natural? That's sort of what it looks like. So this is all disturbed and this has all come out. So this isn't a second signal. This is the signal that was in that hole. So one of the reasons can be it's a tiny little find and you've moved it. And you can increase your hole, you can spread out the spoil that you've taken out the hole, and you can just really cover it really well. Also make sure in doing that you haven't somehow got it stuck in your boot tread or it's stuck on your spade, because sometimes that can happen. That's another reason for a signal disappearing once you've dug the hole, is you take a clod out and it's stuck on the spade, or if you've knocked something off or you flattened a bit out with your boot, it's gotten stuck in your boot. So you might want to check that as well. There is another reason that has to do with the find disintegrating, the metal disintegrating. I don't really know how I can possibly illustrate that one. I'll just turn you around so I can talk to you to your face again. So the final reason for a signal disappearing is that it was a bit of metal, possibly very thin bit of copper, or even silver, something that's just very friable. It's being held in place by the soil. The moisture content of the soil is such that when the metal detector puts the signal down, it's refracting off of it, it can see it. But it's a very, very small thing. And those of you that have had a Simplex, you know how tiny the things are it can detect. The tiny, tiny little pieces of copper that you've dug up. So a very, very old, very friable, very small piece of copper, you go to dig it up. When you dislodge the soil, it fragments. And it's not got the continuity of the moisture of the soil to conduct the signal. The pieces are now too small, and it just can't lock. There's nothing for it to lock onto anymore. I think there was a question on one of the forums about the Simplex seeing gold, in particular fine gold chain, and that's a difficulty for any metal detector because fine chain, it doesn't have a big surface for the metal detector to actually lock onto and bounce off of. So again, it's that same sort of principle. If it's quite a small piece and it's in a really good conductive pocket of soil, there's a nice moisture content, it sends the signal down and it can lock on it, it can hit it. But when you dig it up, or when you put the spade in, you disturb that soil, you lose the conductivity of the soil and the soil's moisture, and the signal itself can also just fragment, and then there's nothing solid enough for the Simplex to actually get hold of, and that is another reason why it may disappear, and in that case you will never find it. The other thing I would say is always check the sides of your hole. If you think your signal's disappeared because you've dug down, check the sides of your hole, because sometimes it can get pressed up against the side. The Simplex can't see it because maybe it's vertical against the side of the hole and it's too small a surface area for the Simplex to see straight down. But if you go in with a pinpointer on the side of the hole, or even if you angle the head, you angle the coil of the Simplex onto the sides, it might then be able to pick it up again. So that's the reasons why sometimes when you dig that the signal disappears. And this one was a perfect example of that tiny little bead, or I'm not sure what it is yet. It had gotten pressed against the side, the Simplex couldn't see it, it was too deep down. When I did bring it out, it fell into a crevice, it had more earth on top of it, and it was only when I spread the earth right out that you actually could find it. Oh, and I've just thought of one other reason. You didn't pinpoint it correctly. This has happened to me. I can't think of within the last couple of months or so. You didn't pinpoint it correctly, you flip the clod over, you go, there's no signal anymore. Flip the clod back, try again. Because if you flip the clod over to where the signal actually is, and then you try and swing over it, you've added the depth of the clod on top of it. So the Simplex can't actually see it now because it's under the depth of the clod and then the depth of the soil. You put the clod back, check for the signal again. If it's there, check your pinpointing, because most likely what's happened there is it's either in the very top of the clod and when you flipped it over you've made it too deep for it to see, or it's actually under where you flipped the clod on top of, and so it can't see the depth through the depth of the soil and then underneath into the base of the soil where the signal actually is. So that's all the reasons I can think of. There was another question about notching out and how it affects the Simplex, so I am looking into that one, and I will do a short film on that too. But for now, that's your wee bit about why signals sometimes disappear. And I do want to show you this. This is a potato field that I'm standing in, and they've lifted some of them and they've cut the haulms in some of them over there, but while we don't find a lot of things in the Highlands, in our fields, while we might, get all very excited about Spanish reals because there are no hammers, we do have some advantages here, and I'll show you what they are. Free lunch. Beautiful, beautiful potatoes that the farmers lifted them. The field has been flattened with the tractor and all scraped and ready for the next crop, and these are on the edge of the field because they just got missed when it got scooped up. So beautiful potatoes for our lunch tomorrow. Another advantage of living in the Highlands. Take care.